Good morning, Jennifer Feline here, bringing you insights and tips and discussions from Louise Hay's How to Heal Your Life. We're reading through Chapter 1. This section is entitled, However, I would not blame our parents for this. We are all victims of victims, and they could not possibly have taught us anything they did not know. If your mother did not know how to love herself, or your father did not know how to love himself, then it would be impossible for them to teach you to love yourself. They were doing the best they could with what they had been taught as children. If you want to understand your parents more, get them to talk about their own childhood. And if you listen with compassion, you will learn where their fears and rigid patterns come from. Those people who did all that stuff to you were just as frightened and scared as you were. That's a very interesting section. We are all victims of victims, and they could not possibly have taught us anything they did not know. They were doing the best they could with what they had been taught as children. Those people who did all that stuff to you were just as frightened and scared as you are. And that's something I've struggled with growing up. I've mentioned before in the past, it was a very rocky childhood. I suffered abuse and abandonment. I had to live in a foster home from age 14 to 18. And I've often thought about it because I know that my parents did suffer growing up. Both of my parents experienced physical and sexual abuse and also problems with alcoholism, drug addiction. And I've often thought about that. I knew growing up as a child that somehow it was my responsibility to break that chain, to break that cycle of abuse and dysfunction. It still kind of disturbs me because I know coming through what I did that I wouldn't want to put that on my children. So on the one hand, I do understand that we are all victims of victims, but I would have assumed that both my father and mother, growing up through abuse and the kind of things that they did, that they would have recognized that they didn't want to pass that on to their children. But in healing my own life, I know that I can't continue to blame them or be angry. As it says, they did the best that they could with what they had. And so I can only learn from their mistakes and learn how to heal my own life. And I know that's frustrating for a lot of people, and that's where the serenity prayer really comes to mean so much, that you can only control yourself. You can't control other people. You can't control other people's actions towards you, but you can control yourself. So as we read through How to Heal Your Life, just always remember that we are controlling our own emotions, our own feelings. We can recognize and understand the patterns that, yes, this was a cycle of abuse, but really focus on yourself. Don't, try to lay the blame and use that as an excuse of why you're not doing what you need to do. Thank you so much for tuning in. More tips and inspiration coming soon. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like me on Facebook. Talk to you soon.